So on behalf of the Somare Research Institute, I would like to welcome you all for this event, this Somare Research Institute seminar series. Today the presentations will be made by two divisions, I can say that. One is from the postgraduate School of Postgraduate Studies, then another one from the Institute of Tibet. Somare Research Institute encourages research and provides opportunity for the staff and the students from the postgraduate studies to present their research work. I would like to welcome Mr. John Rambo to give the welcome speech.
Many times you come to realize that whatever the staff do, especially research and publication, is not really known because of the fact that we are doing it individually in our own offices and probably in collaboration with other staff, also the universities around the world or maybe in country. But for students, this is an opportune time for you to also have exposure to this kind of presentations, because it's not only lectures and tutorials that you will get to know how research is done and also how publications are done. But this is a time that you have to take a look at what your lecturers have done research on and also what they've published. And that's the information that you have, the raw material that you have to use for your learning, for your assignments, as well as for your thesis and dissertation, etc. Research and publication is very, very important. For us academics, it's very important to show that we are not only copying things from the internet or maybe from what other people have published and written, but we are all researchers in our own right. And by doing that, we also want to give confidence to our students to say that whatever that we present in lectures and tutorials, most of it should be coming out from our own research output. And on the basis of that, you will come to realize that, oh, I have confidence in my lecturer and my tutor. And by way of doing that, we are also giving quality. It's part of quality assurance process where you have to have confidence in us and also use our materials, research publication output that we produce. And the three presenters, I want to congratulate you for this presentation because this is an opportune time for you to showcase and also show to students and staff that whatever that you have done is of value as well as of class.
Our first presenter today is Ms. Landers Monoma, who is a lecturer in the Division of Tourism and Hospitality Management. She holds a master's degree in Tourism and Hospitality Management from Victoria University, Melbourne, Australia, and a bachelor degree in Education, majoring Home Economics and minor in Social Science from the University of Goroka. She has over 18 years of teaching experience in secondary and tertiary institutions. She will be presenting the research paper, International Tourist Perception of Safety and Security in Papua New Guinea. Of course, this research paper was accepted for publication in the Melanesian Studies Journal, second issue. Ladies and gentlemen, let us give a warm welcome to the presenter, Ms. Monoma.
It gives me pleasure to present on a research that was done by a number of authors. The topic that was researched on is on international tourist perception of safety and security in Papua New Guinea. The authors of this research work or paper includes Subaya Kanan, Surya Prabha Kanan, Landers Monoma, and Marcella Fitina. Now to the abstract. The aim of this study was to ascertain international tourist perception of safety and security in Papua New Guinea. The outcome of the research, responses from 149 male, which means male dominated, in participating in this research, and 60 female visitors have indicated that they felt the fear of a number of bad things being done to them, and that includes being robbed, which has the highest percentage of 38%, followed by being stolen, being attacked sexually, and sexually harassed during their stay in Papua New Guinea. From the respondents, 71% stated that they did not encounter any problem, while others revealed things were stolen, which is about 10%, and they were being robbed, 8%, followed by being attacked, sexually harassed, racially harassed. From this, majority of the respondents, of course, because these are international tourists, and so from these respondents, Australia has the highest number of visitors that came in of about 35%, followed by USA, China, Indonesia, and UK, while the remaining on the rest, comprises from other countries, which is about 34%. Most of the respondents showed interest in visiting Papua New Guinea, and only 6% would not have indicated that they will not revisit, and about 1% were undecided. This study concluded that the threat of safety and security in PNG expressed by international tourists, we can say that cannot be completely or totally ignored, as crime against international tourists is considerable. So effective strategies should be implemented and monitored periodically to improve safety and security measures in PNG deemed to attract more international tourists. Papua New Guinea is known as a destination for international tourists on two basic aspects. The first one is the adventure, and that adventure includes the natural beauty that we have, which is one of the major attractions for overseas tourists or international tourists. Because of the spectacular sites that we have, such as the dive location and biodiversity, rainforest, mountain waterfall, bird watching, to name a few. Apart from that, we also have cultural diversity. Papua New Guinea is so diverse in culture, and that is one of the areas that tourists are being attracted to. That includes our languages. As we all know, 800 plus languages in Papua New Guinea, plus 750 cultural groups from different provinces, which of course will not disappoint international tourists that come to visit Papua New Guinea. Tourism is embarking on that, where there is promising growth of infrastructure development in PNG. And so because of that is attracting more international tourism coming to visit Papua New Guinea, which of course is significantly contributing to the economy of the country. Visitors that are coming, according to survey, about over 50% of the source market is Australians, followed by USA, China, UK, and New Zealand. When we look at the contribution towards the economy, they have contributed immensely, and we can say, according to figures, about 715 million kilo that was earned as revenue in 2019, which was an increase of about 2% from 2018, which was 700 million, and a rise of about 5% from 2017. So these are the statistics which has proven that there is growth in tourism over time. And PNG continues to maintain that steady growth of tourists coming into Papua New Guinea every year, attracting more international tourists since 2010. Despite all this, we do have some setback, and of course, one of the main setback of seeing PNG's growth in tourism is safety and security. which in Papua New Guinea is not a negative image. And Tourism Promotion Authority have indicated that in terms of the weakness of PNG security image. So there is a fear of crime due to the prolonged psychological threat, and the list goes on. So most tourists that come are just here to only relax and enjoy what they are here for, but not so much of movement within the destination. And having tourists encountering some of these negative images, some of these bad encounters certainly have negative impacts on the destination. The destination becoming fragile because of law and order issues. Now to the literature review. We've encountered that safety and security is one of the key aspects in influencing visitors' decision-making process. Before visitors come to a particular destination, they go through some process in making decisions. And of course, safety and security happens to be one of them. And that affects, of course, the image of a particular destination. The nature of crime includes things such as rape, assault, murder, and the list goes on. We do have some records, bad records of tourists being attacked by the locals. And one of those examples would be the Tawali Resort in Million Bay, that was back then in 2018, which really damaged the destination image. Tourists were being robbed at gunpoint at the luxury Tawali Resort in Million Bay, whereby 16 armed men with high-powered rifles held 20 tourists in hostage before robbing them. There are also similar incidences that happen in other provinces, such as the Crocodile Crag, also in Karakara Island back in 2010, and also in Medan. Out of the research being carried out by Borowski 2019, page 180, indicated that among the independent state of the Oceania, Papua New Guinea recorded with the highest crime rate, especially in areas such as burglary, car theft, drug offenses, theft of property, robbery, and the list goes on. So PNG is notorious for its high crime rates and subsequently dangerous traveling and living conditions. So that is affecting us. Apart from that, we are also rated against the world to be seen as one of the most dangerous places in the world as well. Anyway, in PNG, but the crime rates are highest in some of the cities in PNG, major cities, and that includes Port Moresby, Lae Madang, Mount Again, and Goroka. This is because of the increase in population, and so that is putting pressure on the living standard, and so there's immense increase in squatter settlements in those major cities mentioned. One of the other factors or issue is also unemployment, which is causing serious risk of crime. People being unemployed and they are looking for an easy way out. In terms of crime in Papua New Guinea, crime against international tourists are mostly not reported, which encourages criminals to continue to involve in those activities. Now to the methodology. The aim of this empirical research was to determine international tourist perception on safety in Papua New Guinea, by which questionnaire was distributed to mostly the departing international tourists at the departure lounge of Goroka, which is our domestic airport here. Basically, the target were non-residents who were here for a short stay, and that did not include residents and missionary because they are not considered as tourists according to the definition. The paper represents the view of temporary entrants who were considered as genuine international tourists, and so the survey was conducted over a 6 months period in various occasions between the month of July and December. During that time, the environment was normal, and so there was no political or civil unrest happening at that time. Now to the results and discussion. That comes in two parts, part A and part B. Let's look at part A. Firstly, we look at the profile of the respondents. Basically, touching on the demographic profile of the survey indicated about 71% of the respondents were male and 29% were female. To the age group, majority of the respondents, which is about 42%, falls between the age group of 41 and 60 years, and then the second highest was over the age of 60 years. And the age group, which was less than 40 years, accounted for 22%, and about 6% did not indicate their age. Right. In terms of nationality, mostly were Australians, about 35%, again followed by Americans, Indonesians, Chinese, and British, which is about 5%. The others were nationalities from other countries as listed below. Right. Respondents' level of education indicated that most of the respondents, about 43% were postgraduate, followed by undergraduate, 28%. At a higher level, doctorates, 16%, and the remaining at grade 12, which is 10%, grade 10, 3%. More than half of the respondents indicated their purpose of visit was basically for business, while 36% was on holiday visit and the rest, 11%, for VFR, visiting friends and relatives. Majority of the respondents intended to stay in PNG for less than 15 days, followed by 24% indicated more than 30 days, 16% between 16 and 30 days, and the remaining did not indicate their duration of stay in PNG. In terms of their status, majority of the respondents were basically single, followed by those that were with friends, about 23%, 18% with family, and 17% at their trip to PNG with their colleagues. Figure 1 on the next slide shows the respondents' gender, purpose of visit, and visiting pattern. We will look at that. All right, so we can see again the gender, majority, it was dominated by male, which is about 71%, and female, 29%. Purpose of visit, you can see that business trip has dominated 53%, followed by others, and visiting pattern, again, mostly dominated by single, which is about 42%. All right, among those respondents who visited Goroka, some mentioned that they have already visited other provinces, such as NCD, Morobe, and the list goes on, which are all on the slide. Those that visited Goroka indicated that they would also visit other places, such as NCD, ECP, Million Bay, and the list goes on. So that was not the end of their journey. Goroka happened to be one of their destinations that they visited at that time. All right, in terms of travel experience, majority of the respondents, about 41%, were first-time visitors to Papua New Guinea. And the next highest, 31%, and then followed by that, those that have visited more than 5 times. Of the respondents, 11% had visited twice, 12% had visited thrice, and 2% had visited 4 times, and 3% visited 5 times. That's the chart indicating the nationalities of respondents. Again, the highest, Australia with 35%, rest goes down. On the right-hand side of the pie chart, we also have other countries which represent the remaining 14%. This study has proven again that international tourist arrival continue to be dominated by Australians, followed by Americans. We can see from this that more than half of the respondents visited PNG from developed countries, especially from Australia, US, UK, Canada, France, New Zealand, Germany, and Japan. Most of the respondents were over 40 years of age, as we have looked at, and most of them were here for MICE, which is one of the segments of tourism in the business sector. The result indicated that PNG may attract more foreign investment and business opportunity if only we can ensure safe and secure environment for investors to do business. So there is more business opportunity, and if that happens, then of course it will bring employment opportunities to the national. So that is just one of those many benefits. The second part of the research includes safety and security. Respondents were asked to indicate the expectation of issues that they might face in Papua New Guinea during their visit. And the results are shown as 38% of respondents, they felt they would be robbed, 26% felt their things would be stolen, 21% thought they would be attacked, 8% expected they would be sexually harassed, and the least 7% felt they might be racially harassed. Right. Correspondingly, the feedback on the actual experience spoke differently. The majority, which is the remaining 71%, however, state that nothing has happened to them while in Papua New Guinea, so that's interesting. We can look at that in the next slide. Those that felt that these things might happen to them, one is being attacked, 21%, but the actual thing was during their stay, only 6% encountered being attacked. Again, being sexually harassed, 8%, and we can see the drop. Ones that was sexually harassed was only 2%, and the list goes on. All right, to the next slide, visitors were also asked to indicate reasons for not going out during the night. And the greatest number of respondents, 28%, indicated that they would choose not to go out at night due to fear of crime. And the next greatest number, 17%, experienced fear of going out alone. The other reasons given by the respondents were fear of burglary, 14% nowhere to go, 12% inadequate street lights, 12% no transportation, fear of dark, 3%, fear of racism, 2%, and age, 1%, which we will look at the next slide. Figure 3 shows the reasons given by the respondents. So what I have expressed is also indicated in the pie chart. So we can see the biggest would be fear of crime, about 28%. Visitors were asked to to rate the degree of safety they felt using the 5-point Likert scale ranging from very unsafe to very safe. And the data collected revealed that almost half of the visitors, about 45%, felt very safe, and 42% felt unsafe, and the list goes on. So this study found that the majority of the respondents did not feel safe walking on the streets at night, despite the majority felt very safe staying at their accommodation. Figure 4 below shows, on the next slide, shows how safe the respondents felt while in PNG. Right, so that's the feeling of respondents of being very unsafe, especially walking around at night. Is just an example of 25%, and you can see feeling unsafe goes up to 64%, somewhat safe 15%, and safe 12%, very safe 2%. That is walking on streets at night. Then we have other areas such as touring at daytime. You can see the difference there in terms of percentage, using public transport and being in their own accommodation as well. From the data collected, 49% respondents stated that they had tour guides, while the remaining 15% respondents did not engage tour guide. So majority of the respondents indicated that they would revisit Papua New Guinea, while, as we said already, 6% said they will not, and 1% were undecided. All right, the data shows that having a tour guide significantly increases the chances of visitors wanting to return to Papua New Guinea. So therefore, we can see the importance of tour guide coming in to the scene. All right, figure 5, respondents' interest to revisit Papua New Guinea. Recommend PNG visiting friends and relatives, and engagement of tour guide is indicated in the pie charts. All right, now that brings us to the recommendation. All right, the study recommended the following strategies to ensure that security of the international tourists in Papua New Guinea to live destination image, and also the loyalty of visitors. Recommendation can be considered by the concerned authorities to improve the safety and security measures of the country. A number of recommendations the researchers came up with, by which the first one is to ensure that information booklet is readily available for tourists upon international. So this booklet should show information about all the provinces and countries, and also domestic information on the brochures of the provinces. And that should include all attraction site, maybe safety instruction, which is important, and recommended also tour guide for tour packages, service charges, hotel accommodation, and the list goes on. So those were some of the suggestions or recommendations made. Also very important in the brochure should be the landline and mobile numbers, including email and addresses of those that are responsible for safety and security. The next one is to create a working team. That would be the Tourism Provincial Bureau, to provide awareness to the public and tourism stakeholders on the importance of international tourists. What would be some of the benefits that they would benefit the local community. The third one, is to ensure provincial offices and stakeholders of tourism working together, partnering and networking, so that will help to contribute towards bringing down crime issues in the country. Partnership is very important. Most of the tourism businesses are privately owned by private organizations or SMEs. Another suggestion would be for all provincial tourism officers should have website with the most updated information. Also, one other important reason is to ensure that tour guides and accommodations maintain safety standard in the provinces. The next one is CCTV cameras can be installed on attraction sites, not in all places, but especially at the entrance of the attraction sites. That will help to lessen crime in the destinations. All right, the next point is to let the public know that the government is very serious about law and order, that this information needs to go out. It needs to be disseminated to the public. If law and order can be tightened up, and maybe the local media can come in and try to do that in promoting safety and security in the country instead of going negative and criticizing after the crime that has occurred. The mission is to make sure that tour guides are registered. That is one of the concerns. We do have many tour guides that are popping up everywhere, and some of them are not genuine. They are not properly registered. If that can be done, then it will give some good reputation to the destination. Tourism police was another recommendation, introducing tourism police to all provinces that would protect tourists and lift also the image of the country to the rest of the world, which is done in other countries such as India, Malaysia, and Thailand, to name a few. Next recommendation, travelers visiting PNG can be strongly advised to also take insurance to encounter unforeseen losses. That is very important for recovery should such happen. Next is reducing the rate of unemployment. This is a very big national issue, but if that can be done, then that is one of the measures, ideal measure, that can help to lower the crime rate. The next recommendation is changes that government makes to address safety and security issues to improve law and order system in the country should also be disseminated through the embassies and High Commission office and also to our promotional offices abroad. We understand that Papua New Guinea, we do have representative office overseas, such as in Australia, the US, and also Europe. That brings us to the end of all our recommendations. We now come to the limitation and future directive. The safety and security, again, one of the limitations of this study, because it was done only in Goroka, we can say that it differs from province to province in PNG. And so this study accounted international tourists mainly who departed from Goroka Airport. So that doesn't represent the rest of Papua New Guinea. Most of the tourists also did not complete their journey at that time. They still had other places to go to when they filled out the questionnaire. This study would also be more accurate if data collection is carried out at the International Departure Lounge than at the Domestic Departure Lounge. And the data collecting tool can also be modified accordingly to collect information from victims on the type of crime, province it occurred, exact location, whether the incident was reported, actions taken, etc. Now to the conclusion. We can say that regardless of all those criticisms, so many criticisms on international tourists and safety in PNG, according to the research tourism industry, recorded a steady and continuous growth in international visitor arrival, and their contributions have significantly contributed to Papua New Guinea's economy. Therefore, ensuring safety and security in the country is important, and that would certainly lift the image of the destination in the world tourism market and also attract more temporary entrants. The stakeholders of the tourism industry should work together to address safety and security issues in the country, which is greatly affecting tourism businesses. Creating awareness is greatly affecting also tourism businesses, so that needs to be done. And creating awareness also on the tourism benefits, involving all stakeholders and cooperation from people in the nearby attraction sites would help to increase the safety of tourists.
Our second presenter today is Ms. Gillian Yavore, who is a master's degree student and a tutor in the Division of Teaching and Learning. Ms. Yavore holds an undergraduate studies and a Bachelor of Education with honors from the University of Kuroka. She taught in many secondary schools in Highlands region before joining the Division of Learning and Teaching at the School of Education in 2015. She will be presenting part of her master's thesis today. Her presentation topic is Identifying Challenges and Experiences in Teacher Induction in Selected Secondary Schools in Autonomous Region of Bougainville. Her presentation will be mainly focusing on 4 areas, and they are abstract, introduction, literature review, and methodology. Ladies and gentlemen, let us welcome Ms. Yavore.
I'll be presenting only 3 chapters of my research proposal, and that is the introduction, the lit review, and the chapter 3, the methodology and methods. The abstract. The research proposal is presented in compliance with the various phases and steps in conducting a research. The purpose of the study is to identify advantages, challenges of teacher induction in the selected secondary schools in the autonomous region of Bougainville. It will assess how these advantages and challenges impact the beginning and suggest ways of improving the current approaches to teacher induction in the secondary schools in the province. The presentation will cover the introduction chapter, as mentioned, the literature review, research methodology and methods, and brief on how data will be analyzed, the discussion, conclusion, and recommendations, although that is not yet completed. The outline of my presentation will cover the introduction, literature review, methodology, and methods, which is also called design by some authors, results of data analysis, just a brief on how the discussion will be done, and the conclusion and recommendation. Alright, chapter 1, which is the introduction. This brings me to the background or the context of the study. The National Department of Education is faced with issues of quality teacher and training starting from elementary through to secondary school teaching. The aim of achieving a better future by the Department of Education 2004 not only requires quality teacher education and training from the teacher training institutes, but the critical point in the professional career is found at the stage commonly termed as induction. Induction is a process by which a variety of professional support services are provided to newly employed teachers and educational personnel to facilitate entry into the education system. Kenny 2017. Induction may include mentoring, support, or assistance in planning professional development by experienced teachers. The research will focus on challenges of beginning teacher induction in the secondary schools in the autonomous region of Bougainville. This brings me to the research problem. The research problem this study will address is the challenges of beginning teacher induction in secondary schools in the autonomous region of Bougainville. Some of these challenges include unpreparedness to meet students' learning needs. There are different types of students that we will be at different levels that teachers teach. And to understand their learning needs, it's a process that we don't teach here at the University of Goroka or in any teacher education institutions. Also, there is lack of classroom and behavior management. Today, as we move into the 21st century, there are so much of behavior issues in the schools. Lack of knowledge and curriculum materials and assessment policies is one that beginning teachers experience. Meaning that teacher institutions do not teach us how to those content as to what curriculum materials in a specialist subject areas we will be teaching as we go out to the schools. Some of these challenges may be addressed by equipping beginning teachers to be more effective and efficient in their profession. My research main question is only one. What are the advantages and challenges of teacher induction of beginning teachers in secondary schools in the autonomous region of Bougainville? So supplementary questions, there are two. How do advantages impact on, that is referring to the advantages of teacher induction, impact on beginning teachers in secondary schools in the autonomous region of Bougainville? And two, what strategies can be employed to improve beginning teacher induction in secondary schools in the region? The purpose of the study is to identify some advantages of teacher induction and experiences in their first 3 years of teaching. The beginning teachers I'm looking at from year 1 to 3. That's when the registration of teachers take place. Alright? And then upon finding out the challenges and experiences of what these teachers face, the suggestions will be made to improving the current approaches to induction in secondary schools in the region. Study is important to the teaching profession, especially beginning teachers, to become efficient and effective in teaching when being informed about all aspects of teaching. The study, when conducted, will identify some advantages of teacher induction and evaluate experiences faced by beginning teachers. Hence, new knowledge will be created to improve approaches to teacher induction in schools. The new knowledge will contribute to policy in the autonomous region of Bougainville and the country. Students will enjoy learning that will result in better academic performance, achieving the National Department of Education's Vision 2020, achieving quality education for all. Just to highlight key areas which serve as background to the research study on beginning teacher induction in PNG, especially the secondary schools in the autonomous region of Bougainville. The discussion will be on the global trends and perspectives on the issue at hand. Areas that are discussed here are in line with the research questions, the advantages and challenges of beginning teacher induction and strategies to improve. All right, advantages of teacher induction. We know that within the transition period, teachers go through challenges emotionally, like stress. They may experience stress, just having that feeling of inadequacy that as a beginning teacher. All right? Induction can ease the transition of new staff, giving them the time, support, and relationship that they need to thrive. Induction can aid in the adaptation and assimilation process to the school system. Beginning teachers can overcome their self-defined problems and concerns. Stress associated with intense learning and anxiety at the induction phase can be minimized. Challenges of beginning teacher induction, according to these sources, include job-related adaptation challenges and social challenges. In PNG, we have beginning teachers not on the pay, and living conditions are also challenges that teachers need to settle down before they get onto the real thing of teaching. Self-defined problems, concerns of beginning teacher rather than central task of learning to teach. Stress associated with intense learning and anxiety at the induction phase. Alright, a brief on strategies to improve on teacher induction. Stakeholders in the induction process involve the beginning teacher and other experienced teacher at the school. Their roles may vary depending on the task, the school, and the pace of the induction. The responsibility of beginning teacher is to engage in the school-based induction if there is, but according to findings, that's from 2007, there is no policy on teacher induction in countries in the Pacific region. To engage in the school-based induction process, reflect on their professional competence, take responsibility in managing the process towards gaining their proficient teacher accreditation, meaning certification of teaching. That's according to Watkins 2011. Research shows that administrators who know the challenges of beginning teachers are proactive in supporting them and are committed to their professional growth. Yes, administrators must always be there to give a helping hand to support those new beginning teachers because they are new to the profession and they have to be given that moral support to continue. And that there are those reasons where administrators do not support beginning teachers and in a long run may leave the teaching profession. Teacher induction programs are designed to help guide, support beginning teachers through challenging and stressful first 3 years of teaching. It provides beginning teachers with skills and knowledge to be successful and stay active in the profession. Teacher induction is viewed as one of the most useful practices to facilitate the transition of beginning teachers into their careers and prevent problems faced. Okay, this brings me to the third chapter, research methodology and methods, or the design. Research methodology is a way of systematically solving a research problem. Research methodology has many dimensions, and research methods do constitute a part of research methodology. That's according to Creswell, 1994. The constructive paradigm will be used to guide this research study. This paradigm or worldview states that knowledge is socially constructed by people actively in the research process, and that researchers should attempt to understand the complex world of lived experience from the point of those who lived it. Also, the learner is an information constructor, according to learning theories. The methodology that will be used in this study is qualitative. The study is descriptive in nature and calls for participants' experiences and views about the research topic with the aim of gathering in-depth understanding of human behavior and the reasons that govern such behavior, thus creating meaningful and understanding of their thinking. Creswell. It is believed that by involving teachers who are actually involved or impacted by beginning teacher induction practices in the schools will give the best experiences and information, thus anticipating that the new knowledge created from the study will contribute to improving beginning teacher induction and improve students' academic performance. The methods, qualitative research data fall into 5 classifications: observations, interviews, documents, and research instruments of various kinds, such as questionnaires, surveys, and personal attitude and cognitive tests. Hence, it is important to choose the appropriate instrument that suits the study to be conducted. The methods of data collection that will be employed in this research are interviews, personal and focus group questionnaires, document analysis, example, in-service documents. Alright, data collection instruments. The plan is to use 6 secondary schools in the region, and we'll use personal interview and focus group interview with a population sample of 61. Interviews will be both individual and focus groups, as this will create a conducive interview environment for all target groups of the school hierarchy. Focus groups are facilitated group discussions that make use of group interactions as the means to explore the research issue being studied, so the use of group processes distinguishes them from individual interviews. Creswell 2013 categorized qualitative interview designs as unstructured, in-depth, and semi-structured, and structured interviews. Personal interview will be used. Personal interview has some advantages over focus group interview. Typically allow for more focused discussions and follow-up questions. Individual may offer information that they would not offer in group context. Moreover, the interviewer can observe the non-verbal behaviors of an interviewee. Personal interviews are valuable to provide detailed information about situation or social context of the setting of the participant. This study will interview the school principals, deputy principals, and beginning teachers personally. Focus group interview is a way of collecting qualitative data which involves engaging a small number of people in an informal group discussion or discussions. These are focused around a particular topic or set of issues. Focus groups are less threatening to many research participants, and the environment is helpful for participants to discuss perceptions, ideas, opinions, and thoughts, according to Kruger and Casey. This study plans to use focus group interview with the senior teachers and beginning teachers. Alright, the data analysis procedure that the study wishes to use qualitative analysis data is a process of reviewing, synthesizing, interpreting data to describe and explain phenomena or social worlds being studied. The researcher takes a voluminous amount of information and reduces it to certain pattern categorizes or themes, then interprets this information by using some schema. Creswell 9. Ethical considerations are paramount in all research for its design to conclusion. Therefore, the following will be adhered to in the course of this research study. Letters of consent will be written to the organizational heads, the education secretary. For the case of Bougainville, we have a secretary because it has been passed down to, that powers have been delegated down to the province level now. Unlike in the country, we have one in Mosby, in Waigan. Principals of the 6 secondary schools in the province and participants will be informed through their principals. Furthermore, interviews will be conducted in open settings as much as possible, however, in a conducive environment to elicit the information needed. Finally, confidentiality and privacy will be paramount, important when compiling the reports, as not to offend any individual or school in particular. The assumptions of the study are as follows: that the professionalization of a beginning teacher depends on effective systematic induction and mentoring, that the successful implementation of induction or mentoring depends on the school leadership by the principal, and that the induction and mentoring impacts on the teaching performance of teachers, which then improves student academic performance. The limitations of this research at this stage is finance. Bougainville is overseas, so we have to be mindful with finance. In order to conduct this research for the province, funding is necessary. If funding is made available, the research will be conducted. The delimitations of this study are as follows. The study will cover only 6 secondary schools in Europe and not high schools, so that it will be manageable in regard to the availability of resources such as time and money. Parents and students' perceptions will not be considered in the study, as they are not directly involved with the induction and monitoring new or beginning teachers. Ethical clearance. It is a requirement that ethical clearance formalities must be adhered to. Therefore, to conduct this research, a submission of the research proposal will be sent to the University of Goroka Research Ethics Committee seeking its approval. A letter will be sent to the Provincial Education Secretary informing him or her, I don't know, of the purpose of the research. Furthermore, participants of the research will be informed individually and also through their respective administrative heads by letter. Qualitative sampling is concerned with information richness, for which 2 key considerations would guide the sampling methods: appropriateness and adequacy. This is to identify appropriate participants which will give the best information. This study will use the stratified purposeful sampling and convenience sampling. The participants will be selected from each level of the school hierarchy. The strategy for selecting samples varies based on the logistics, ethics, and the paradigm of the researcher. For the purpose of this study, the researcher will employ the stratified purposeful sampling by selecting the participant teachers from each level of the school hierarchy. Researcher will select sample participants from 6 upper secondary schools in the stratified manner. At the top management, the principal and the deputy principals. At the middle management level, the senior teachers, and at the lower level, the beginning teachers. Validity and reliability. In data collection and sampling, the issue of validity and reliability is addressed by increasing the number of data collection instruments to 3 and carefully selecting the population sample from 6 different secondary schools. I haven't carried out the data yet, but the study wishes to use a qualitative analysis of reviewing, synthesizing, and interpreting data to describe and explain the phenomena or social worlds being studied. The researcher takes a voluminous amount of information and reduces it to a meaningful categories of themes. The key questions will be addressed here, and chapter 6 will discuss the major conclusions, recommendations, limitations to the study, and further study opportunities. Thank you for giving me the yes. These are my references.
I have come from a design background. To come up with a new idea and new things, it starts from a problem. And the new products that we are using here, which is on the market that we are using, all evolve from a problem. No new things will come just like that. So if there's a problem, in the process of solving the problem, you come up with new ideas, new ways of doing things. So every problem has a solution to it. If you want to solve a problem, you have to come up with a solution. So in the research and seminar presentations like this is similar. People do research, find problems, and then in solving the problem, they come up with new ways, new ideas of doing things. For instance, the mobile phone that we're using now didn't just come like that. In the early days, we were using these handsets, and it was in the office station. And if there was an emergency call, you could run from the field to the office to answer the call. And people found that it's a problem. So they came up with mobile phones, and now we are using mobile phones here. You are everywhere, wherever you are using mobile phone. You can see all vehicles coming up, the buses that you're using now, they are changing. Any new product that we see on the market is changing because we're going to problems and people are trying to solve the problem and they're coming up with new products. Right, so I'm saying this because of my background as in design. But seminars like this is really good because it also gives us opportunity to have networking with others. You may be here listening to a presenter and you may have an idea. And if somebody is presenting the seminar, and if it is in line with your subject area, is where you start working correlation with that person and you move further research on that area. So this is the chance of having research and presenting seminars like this. But I'd like to thank the three speakers, Dr. Solon, Ms. Moromai, and Ms. Evora. I'd like to thank you for your time and whatever that you have presented and will present. I know it will be the good consumption for our students. With that, thank you very much.
Professor Solon holds a PhD from the University of Alberta in Canada and honorary doctorate and M.Ed from the University of New England, Armidale, Australia. Professor Solon is an experienced educator and administrator who is the Executive Director of the School of Postgraduate Studies. He is supervising PhD and honors students and teaching foundation research method and thesis writing. He has enormous experiences and achievements in the academic field. Professor Solon will be presenting on the topic, the relationship between research questions and semi-structured interview tools. Ladies and gentlemen, let us welcome Professor Solon.
Mr. Warre had outlined, given us all an opportunity of what we call planning your research. And he would have covered a lot of details that is required for any researcher to go ahead and conduct your research. That gives us all an idea of the details of planning a research. Research again is a systematic one, an integrated process of planning, collecting, analyzing valid and reliable data to establish new knowledge, inform policy, and suggest possible practice to benefit society. That is, in summary, a definition of why we do research. The emphasis here is on what we call systematic, and you will have got that ideas or a systematic way of aligning our research so that we follow the plan, and at the same time all the plans that we use in conducting research is also integrated with each other. The steps you will find some 3 or about 2 seminars before, we outline the steps in conducting research. So Mr. Vora has given you some outline of that. S is a planning for a proposal of the research he is to undertake. So that is part of it, and I trust that we would have got some ideas or begin to develop in our minds if we were to move into the area of research, those areas that any researcher must plan. When we collect data, we talk about how do we collect data? And often some of the common tools that we collect data on, information on, depends on the type of research that we are planning. And there are various ways of following research or conducting research in various disciplines. Each of those disciplines has certain ways that are particular to their disciplines in collecting data, but there are also common ways that we follow. And some of these have been explained in the previous session. When we plan research, we cannot simply just say, develop them in isolation. For example, our topic must be associated with an issue or problem that we want to seek answers to. Secondly, when we have a problem, we have questions to address that problem. So when you raise those questions, they must be associated with the issue and the topic that we have identified to seek answers to. Following those problems or hypotheses, then we create or develop what we call tools. How do we collect information that will answer those research questions, and so that those research questions answer the topic that we are following up on to find answers to. In social science and in education in particular, normally we conduct interviews. So how do you conduct interviews? First of all, your interview questions or instruments, the questions that we ask must be related to the primary research question that we want to answer as part of our research. It can be quite challenging if we don't relate our interview instruments or questionnaire to the primary research question in our research. The challenge is that if we don't relate that, integrate this to this information, the challenges may arise when we want to come and analyze the research, analyze the information that we have gathered. So it is important that we align the research questions through the interview guide that you are going to ask participants about, so that they are related to the primary research question, and your research will be valid and reliable only when you collect the data that is related and is relevant to the primary topic or your research questions. Further, it will be easier for you to see how the respondents' answers to your questionnaire or to your interview guide, because they are related to the primary research question. And the primary research question is also related to the success of you completing your thesis or completing your report, answering the research question and the topic. Examiners will look at the first thing if they're likely to, or other assessors to read your work or to assess your research, is to see whether you are answering those research questions. That's the first. And often they will get that by reading your abstract. So the relationship between all those parts of conducting a research, as you can see from the drawing here, they are integrated. They're like a gear in an engine. One turns the other, but it's also dependent on the previous part of that engine. So it is integrated, so that I want to emphasize this morning is simply that when you are constructing your research question or questionnaire, they must be basically related to the main research questions that you have. So some example here, if you're conducting an interview of, say, about performance and the impact of use of phones on grade 12 examinations or performance, then you must make sure that your questions are related to the performance of grade 12 students, how they use the phones, whether they impact positively on their work or otherwise. In that way, you will be able to isolate the questions or the impact of mobile phones on the learning of grade 12 students. So these are some general examples, but they're more reflective, or they're more important that when you construct, we must all think fairly clearly and reflect closely with the relationship between the research questions, the topic, and the development of the tools that you are going to use to collect the data. Subject or message for today is the relationship between your research when you are constructing your questionnaire must be related to the primary research question, and the primary research question must be related to the topic that you are researching on. This is basically what I want to share with you today. The question is it the end of the session? No, this is constructing a research questionnaire or interview guides is part of the big picture that you would have seen when Ms. Abora was presenting her plan to conduct her research. This is part of that, but it's an important component that we must associate with, especially when collecting our data. And the relevance of the collection instrument is also very important to make sure that we will get the answers that we are looking for that are related to our primary research question. Otherwise, the question continues, how do I analyze the data? Is it related to the research questions? Will the data give answers to my research questions? And does the research question also address the topic of the research that we are following? Thank you very much for your attention.
It would be nice to see which provinces are using strategies that are good for tourism industry to promote tourism, and which provinces are using what kind of strategies, and to differentiate that would be really good, because the best practices to encourage tourists can also be replicated to other provinces if it is not happening. That's one. Two is, from my experience living overseas for quite a while, like even in Sydney, if you go to Sydney, then departure places, or even places where you get the tickets, these offices you go to, there's no publication or there's no pamphlets, anything to do with PNG. That's what I've seen. Even in New Zealand, when I was in Auckland, New Zealand, like where is PNG? They would say, oh, we don't know, maybe in Africa. So would have been a good idea if there's one of those sections in the questionnaire that you gave out. Where did you get information about PNG? Because even website in PNG becomes so expensive to develop one. Guides or the organizations that we have here don't even have websites. So how do they know that PNG exists here, and then we have this number of tour guides or tourism places to promote tourism? But that would also be a good idea to for me, from my own experience, I don't know how they get the information to come to PNG. So it's very limited. The second presenter is, in my view, I think your research about induction, because I did a chapter in one of my publications, which is the Encyclopedia of Teacher Education. I covered teacher professional development, and teacher induction is one of them, one of those teacher professional development that's a bigger picture. And also, if you take a look at UN SDG, the Sustainable Development Goals, goal number 4 talks about quality education. Sustainability aspect becomes very, very important. Even now, that's the most recent. So, induction is, like I said, it's part of the teacher professional development. It's a bigger picture, and also geared towards sustainability. So it would be a good idea if you explore this, because maybe your marker might, pinpoint some of these issues when they're examining your thesis. Thank you.
Limitation of information. That's one of the setback, and which I am in total agreement. Being abroad as well and seeing very limited information, by which not many people from around the world are aware of the country. So it comes back to the marketing of the destination, by which it comes back to the government organization, by which we have established government bodies, such as PNGTP, or Tourism Promotion Authority, which is responsible for marketing. Though regardless of the many attraction sites and many products that we have are not so marketed out, so which is not known so much to the rest of the world. So one of the way forward would be to have genuine marketing mechanism or tools, such as what I presented on, having genuine tour guides, things like that, so that there's so many information which some may be seen as genuine and others not genuine, which some tourists have mistakenly gone into the website into accessing information that are not genuine and get disappointed along the way. So so there's so many setbacks too and disappointment on that part. But we really need to look into that to register more of our products and services here. And the organization PNGTP is one of those organizations that can help to market tourism. The other point about the visitors, the questionnaire that was given out to the tourists who basically came into Goroka and other destinations to go to. Not that they have been to those destinations coming here. So that is something that we can probably look at that in the future.
And yes, this presentation is to help us develop. So it's a topic in progress. Can always accommodate for bigger, broader topics or areas to research, and thank you for that comment. I will look into that and broaden that maybe towards improving its education, taking induction and all other aspects to meet the criteria for the master's degree. Thank you.
The first one goes to Ms. Monama. She raised issues that can be detrimental to attracting tourists to Papua New Guinea, one of which is, and a very important issue, is the law and order problem. It's been an issue for a long time, and there must be drastic ways to address this issue so that tourists from overseas are happy to come to visit Papua New Guinea. Even the tour guides have been attacked in the past and killed in the process of assisting tourists. So there must be better ways, more effective ways, apart from the cameras that may not have worked yet, to deal with this so that tourists are happy to come to Papua New Guinea. That's one. My next one goes to Ms. Evore. You have selected a beautiful topic, which is absolutely important for new teachers. A lot of problems face them because no one has informed them well. As you said, that we don't train them enough here at the University of Goroka. My question is, as you're developing your topic, are there places or institutions where the induction program has been taught beautifully to the trainees before they go to teach in the schools? Thank you.
I'm looking at it from the other point where it would be nicer to engage the local community. It's out of frustration that they are expressing it through crime. And I've raised some issues during my presentation. One of the biggest would be unemployment among youths. And so the frustration is being expressed through crime. And so it is very important to, when engaging the tour guide, it would be good to engage the local community, the local people, so that they are benefiting and they take ownership of this, and I believe engaging the community will try to not really undo but minimize crime in Papua New Guinea.
According to my research, I did not find any institution that teaches curriculum. We have curriculum here, but not directly specific. Like with literature, all developed countries, they have systematic induction programs, but the curriculum is not taught in the teacher training institutions, according to some readings that I have done. Does that answer your question? Yeah. Thank you.
Okay, I'm coming from a design background. My question here is, if I am doing a research on a product, a practical research on a product, how do I analyze this? Do I still have to do a questionnaire to complement the research I'm doing? Thank you.
Right, so if you are analyzing a product, right, or studying a product, right, it would, again, that is when you analyze the product, it comes back to what you are looking for. So you will need to explain a little bit more on, what is the result, what are you looking for in analyzing that product? What are the questions that the qualities of that product or whatever your research is on, you must relate that very closely to the tool that you are going to collect. Okay, so I'm not sure what you mean by analyzing a product. You will need to be a bit more specific on what the product is and what qualities or characteristics you are going to analyze or look at. For example, one of the student or researcher now is looking at the information of products that are manufactured and they are meant to give the consumers information about the quality of the product, what its uses for, how we can use, are there any restrictions on it, or to look at. So those, if you are looking at a product like that, then you must carefully state what you are looking for. Only then can you develop your questions or questionnaire to ask your participants to give their answers to those products or to what specific area that you are looking at. If you leave it general and it becomes challenging. Now we have questions here now where we are being asked, or a researcher, if you are a researcher and you are being asked, did you look into this area? Your research is interesting, but did you consider this? It's a question that is related to your construction of the way you develop that questions to your participants. So generally to answer that is basically you must be very specific to what you are looking for, and your research questions might be also related to your topic, so that when you develop your instruments must aim to give answers to those research questions. So if you are identifying, you're assessing a particular brand or something, you must specifically state what that item is and what qualities you are looking for or you want answers to before you can construct your questionnaire or your interview guide. Thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, let us welcome Dr. Awe.
Thank you, Mr. Kanan. May I invite the students to bring the token of appreciation, a gift pack for all the presenters, please. Let's give our presenters a big round of applause for preparing the presentation today for us. Thank you. The presenters, you may now take your seats. may I also invite Ms. Ann Micah to bring a bouquet of flowers for Mr. Kanan for chairing today's session and also for working closely with the Somare Research Institute to coordinate the presentation today. Please accept our gift and your gift as a token of appreciation for your leadership. Thank you. You may also take your seat. Do we also have a gift for Mr. Kanan? All right, thank you. All right, so this brings to the end the presentations for the first semester. So we have had 5 presentations. Today was the 5th presentation. This is in collaboration with older schools and the institutes at the university to promote research and publication at the university to increase our visibility and also to increase our productivity with the efforts of promoting research and publication through the Somare Research Institute. So I thank each and every one of you for participating. Students, I thank you for coming and attending our fortnightly sessions because you learn about research, you learn about publications, and also you're thinking ahead and maybe your career forward if you are interested in pursuing research as a career. And also for postgraduate preparation and postgraduate study in the future after your 4th year of study. Thank you. Now, quick announcement. This is the final presentation for the first semester. The second semester, we have another lineup of presentations across the university, and we will invite the presenters to present, and we'll work very closely in a very similar manner as what we've done in the first semester. Now, the first presentation will be on week 1 of semester 2. That's, I think, on the 6th of July. And so the presenters will be those ones that have received research funding from the university research and publication. So we have some really exciting research going on at the university, and we will be inviting the successful applicants who have received funding and are currently doing research to present to you their research progress and also their research findings. And so this is another opportunity for us staff members and also students to participate and engage in dialogues and debates around research work that's happening at the university. So thank you.